What is existence? I don't mean what exists. I mean, what is existence itself? I want to know what it means when we say something exists. Yes, I know that sounds like a dumb question. Something exists when it is, rather than when it is not. Existence is another word for being, right? Well, not so fast. People use the word very broadly in its intuitive meaning, but deep down the word existence must mean more than anything that exists. When we break down the meaning of existence in a more fundamental way, I think you'll see something extraordinary. For another version, see my previous podcast listed in the description. Let's make this argument as simple as we can with as few propositions as possible. First, we start with a few reasonable definitions. Let's use the word thing to mean any possible subject of any sentence. We make this definition of a thing to avoid predefining the existence and so beg our question. Secondly, let's assume that a thing may also mean the possible object of any sentence, which we will call the background. Think about the following sentence. A cat is a feline animal. The cat is a thing, and the feline animal is the background. If we say a feline animal is a cat, then the feline animal is the thing, and the cat is the background. Got it? Good. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why not just say subject and object? Well, because when we talk about existence, it would be odd or confusing to use these linguistic terms, as you will see. By the way, the word is here is not begging the question because this verb is making an equivalence not being. So, saddle up and giddy up. Here we go. Listen closely to the argument next. If we assume that existence must be logically coherent, we can make the following. If a thing we call X cannot be distinguished from the background we call Y, or is identical to the background, X cannot be said to exist independently of Y. In other words, if X is the same as Y, it isn't X, it is just Y. You may understand now why I chose to use the words things and backgrounds over subjects and objects. A background denotes a prior meaning. It is there, so to speak, before the subject in question. When we say something exists, we are making a reference. We are pointing toward a thing. We cannot do that unless we can distinguish it from the background. Existence can have no meaning without a prior meaning. So, the second premise is anything that exists must have a prior meaning, or put it another way, must be distinguished from something else. Here we see that existence is essentially difference, that is information. It would be impossible to conceive of one eternal, undifferentiated thing without positing a background first. But that isn't true, you think to yourself. I am imagining that now. Remember that you are in the equation here. If one eternal, undifferentiated thing is conceived, it is assumed that such a thing is not you, for you are conceiving it. As you think about this proposed thing, for example, you become that background. Your imagination is the prior meaning, since the thing is distinguished by you. Therefore, existence is not a thing in and of itself, but is the differentiation of at least two things. This is the reason that multiplicity is the essence of existence. Infinite sameness is nothing. Therefore, multiplicity is everything. No difference means no existence. Even the word nothing has no meaning without the idea of something to differentiate it. To summarize so far, if a thing X cannot be distinguished from the background Y, or is identical to the background, X cannot be said to exist independently of Y. Anything that exists must have a prior meaning, or put it another way, must be distinguished from something else. Therefore, existence is not a thing in and of itself, but is the differentiation of at least two things. We finally have a way of looking at existence in a newer way. Existence is the relationship between the subject and the object, between a thing and its background. Existence is difference. If a thing has no relationship to something prior, it doesn't exist. Another way of stating it is that existence is the standing out of a thing from a background. If one can coherently refer to a thing, that thing exists, even if the background is one's imagination only. But here's the rub. What about a mind? Only a mind can understand existence, because only a mind can perceive difference. We cannot conceive of existence apart from mind unless we first presuppose a mind. I like to say, we cannot separate a thing from our knowledge of a thing. René Descartes was on to the same idea with the act of thinking, presupposing existence. That is, I think, therefore I am. Indeed, logic, experience, and even math reveal their mental nature by self-referential qualities. Only mental stuff is solidly known, as it is differentiated directly, experientially, and self-referentially. If knowledge of things and the existence of things are intrinsically linked, how do we know whether we are things or backgrounds? Are we before things or the reverse? Well, the mind is primary. Let me explain. If non-mind things are the background of mindful things, then we can say that a thing may exist without us knowing it. If the above statement is true, then we claim a thing exists, but don't know it. If we don't know it, then we cannot claim that it exists. If the statement is false, then we claim that a thing may not exist without us knowing it. However, if something does not exist in the first place, there is nothing to know. If we falsify the statement by reversing the predicate so that it says, a thing may exist with us knowing it, then it becomes true. So, if the statement is true, it is self-defeating. If the statement is false, then it either becomes true or false. Ultimately, we cannot separate our knowledge of a thing from the thing itself. If we cannot separate our knowledge from existence, then existence is dependent upon mind. If mind is before existence, then the world, a manifestation of existence, must depend on mind. A world that is dependent upon mind is a non-materialist world. Rather, it is an ideal world.